If you're watching this, you're probably in one of two places. Either you've got your MRI result back and you've seen the word disc bulge or herniation and you're worried. You've been Googling or chat GPTing or whatever, getting AI to help, and everything you've read worries you even further. It makes you fearful of moving because you might make it worse. Or you've had this for a while, months, maybe even years, and you've probably tried lots of things like the physio, acupuncture maybe, injections, massage, rest even, tried everything. And you're still not moving like you want to be moving. You're still fearful of flare-ups and so on. And I work with people in both camps. I understand why you're worried, the pain, the scary scans, the feeling that this is it. But I also want to tell you that that's only one part of the story quite often. Bits of information, granted, really useful information, but not the full story. So before we get into movement, let's put this into a bit of a context, because the why matters just as much as the what and how. Let's talk about your scan for a moment. So you might have been told that you've got a disc bulge or a prolapse, a herniation, disc degeneration. All those words are used interchangeably and they all sound pretty alarming, right? But here's something you may not have been told. And that's that disc bulges show up on MRIs in people that have absolutely no pain at all. So I'm lucky I don't have any back pain, but if you did a scan of my back, you may well find quite a few disc bulges there. But they're not affecting me. And there have actually also been a lot of good quality studies on this, so this is proven. So your disc may have shifted or protruded, bulged slightly, but that finding on a scan doesn't automatically explain your pain. It might do, but often not. It's not the whole story. And that's because the relationship between what the scan shows and how much pain you feel is surprisingly weak. Two people can have identical scans and have completely different pain or non-pain experiences. Oh, and if you've been told that you've got disc degeneration, that is normal wear and tear. It happens in everyone's spine over the years. Yes, it's aging, but it doesn't automatically mean living in pain and stiffness for the rest of your life. So disc degeneration can sound really scary and like you have to protect yourself, but that is definitely not the case. So if a scan isn't the whole story, then what is? Well, here's the interesting thing about pain. Pain is produced by the brain as a warning signal. Think of it like a smoke detector. So a smoke detector does its job brilliantly. It warns you of danger. But as well as, a fire setting off smoke and activating it like a real fire, it will also go off for just a little bit of burnt toast, or even dust sometimes can set them off. So not just the actual event, the actual emergency. And your nervous system works in quite a similar way. And with persistent back pain, so chronic back pain, especially after a diagnosis, our nervous system can become overly sensitive. It starts sounding the alarm earlier and louder than it really needs to. And how does that manifest itself? Well, movement that is perfectly safe starts to feel a little bit sort of dangerous and scary. And that's when people tend to stop moving. And that makes everything a lot worse. And of course, what I'm not saying is that it's made up pain or fake pain. It's absolutely real pain. The sensation is real pain. And I'm not dismissing that for a second. But pain and damage are two very different things. And that distinction changes everything about how we approach this. And one more thing before we move on. That stiffness and tightness in the back that you feel first thing in the morning, that's largely down to fluid pressure building up in the disc overnight. So when you're lying still, the disc absorbs fluid and becomes slightly more sensitive because it's kind of stretched out. And within minutes of moving, that pressure eases and the sensitivity will drop. That's why movement helps, even when it feels like the last thing you want to do. And yes, I'm not saying that there'll be no discomfort when you move. You might well feel some discomfort as you move, but that's okay. And it's interesting actually that research shows that a pain level of around 5 to 6 out of 10, so 10 being excruciating pain, 0 being like no pain at all. So midway, so, not insubstantial, I suppose. 5 out of 6 out of 10 is generally okay during exercise. But the question you need to ask yourself after exercise is, does that pain settle back down to whatever your normal baseline is within 24 hours? So if your normal chronic back pain is normally at about a 3, for example, when you exercise, it might go up to 5 or 6. Within 24 hours, will it come back to a 3? Maybe lower, ideally, but at least to the 3. If it does, you've probably pitched the exercise about right. Yeah, the volume and the type and the range of movement, the loading, etc., probably about right. If it doesn't settle back to the baseline, again, it doesn't mean you've done permanent damage, okay? That's not the case. What it means, what it's telling you is just that you need to dial it back in a little bit, just a notch down next time you exercise and find that right base level for you to start from where you can progress, okay? So do fewer repetitions, keep the range of movement smaller. Are you trying too hard an exercise? Can you make it a simpler version? Those kind of things. Now, I know you might feel a bit like fragile and you need to move like this to not aggravate the back. But when you move into those ranges, nice and slowly breathing into it, taking your time, you're just giving your you're kind of teaching your nervous system that it's safe. Okay, and that's what these exercises are doing. That's what these exercises that we're going to look at now are doing. So let's get into them. We've got 5 movements, and that should take about 10 to 15 minutes. There's no equipment required. Do these daily if you can. Ideally, you know your body best, but if I'm sort of generically recommending, I'd say ideally about half an hour after you've got up. And I think there's one important guiding principle for this, and this is move with curiosity rather than caution. Okay, so really connect to the movement, pay attention to how you're moving and see how it feels, nice and slowly with some confidence. Also, don't hold your breath. If you're holding your breath, you're either working too hard, which in these exercises would be quite hard really, or you're putting the nervous system on alert. So you're waiting for something to happen. So ease off, breathe, either in, out. As long as you're doing one or the other, don't worry about the breathing pattern as long as you're consistently breathing. And there's a guide that goes with this video, a PDF, that has all the detail, the progressions and the coaching notes. So you can use these together. Let's get moving. We're going to start here, down on the floor, on your back, not because it's easier on your back necessarily, but because it's where we can really calm the system down, and that's going to be really important in order to make the system, the body, the brain, the nerves feel relaxed and calm and open to some movement. So we really want to down-regulate the system. So this is more about breathing, obviously, and noticing, just bringing an awareness to yourself. So we start lying down on the mat with the knees bent and just relaxing there. Now, a couple of watch points here. First of all, what the head is doing. So if you have sort of a bigger rib cage and you're kind of up here and the head is like falling backwards, use a cushion or a rolled up towel and pop it behind the skull. So away from the neck, but behind the skull, so that your head, your spine, your neck essentially is a nice alignment. So it's not reaching back, okay? So you want to think very back of the skull onto the cushion or the floor. But like I say, you want a straight neck. You don't want to have a sense that the chin is kind of reaching backwards, okay? So that will be the first thing. The second thing for the legs, if you find it more comfortable to have a pillow or a cushion just below the knees to support the knees, that also is absolutely fine. You want to be comfortable here. So just get comfortable, let the body settle. So just feel the back of the pelvis into the mat and the back of the ribs, back of the shoulder blades, and of course the back of the skull. And just breathe normally, whatever your normal breathing pattern is, just take an inhale and an exhale. And just breathing whatever your normal breathing rhythm is. And it can be quite interesting to think or to notice where the breath is going. So we could pop one hand onto the belly and one hand onto the chest and just continue to breathe normally and find where that breath is going. So is the hand on the chest moving more than the hand on the belly, or vice versa, belly more than chest, or are they kind of both moving? So just bring your awareness to that. Now, because we are looking to down-regulate the system a little bit, I am looking to maybe have a bit more movement through the belly than through the chest. So if you're currently breathing more into the chest than the belly, just see if you can gently direct the breath down towards the belly and get that hand moving a little bit more. And obviously I'm kind of going through this quite quickly. You should be taking your time with each stage. Maybe you sit with that stage for 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and progress next time you look at it. So don't think you have to do all of this in one go. But if you are kind of nicely settled, you can keep the hands there if you like, or you can bring them back down by the side of your body, and we're completely relaxing. So this time, see if you can make the exhale a little bit longer than the inhale. So if I was, say, breathing in 2, 3, I might breathe out 2, 3, 4, in 2, 3, out 2, 3, 4. Everybody has their own breathing pattern. Work with yours. Just see if you can lengthen slightly the out breath, and do that for a couple of minutes. And then as you continue to breathe, really just see if you can completely release through the lower back. So have you noticed any tension in the lower back there? And if you have, really relax. Sometimes drawing your attention to, like I say, the parts of the body that are in contact with the mat. So can you feel the back of the pelvis there? Sometimes it can be nice to have a little bit of movement. So there's no right or wrong with this, really. We are just looking to breathe, relax and release, calm the nervous system down, and almost make it receptive to doing some work. So it's not feeling like it's under threat, which it really shouldn't be in this position. And you could do this for like a minute or 2, or if it feels good, you can do it for 4 or 5 minutes, or even longer if you have the time and you're thinking that this is a really nice calming moment. So this is the first movement. We're going to work on the pelvic tuck. And it's really the first movement that we're going to explore, moving into a lumbar flexion, so a rounding of the spine, which is the direction that most people with a disc bulge are most afraid of. But we're going to go there really slowly, really gently, and with a bit of curiosity. So slow movements, use your breath, the breathing that we were just working on, and bring awareness to the movement. So we'll be in a similar position to the breathing. If you had a head cushion or a towel to support the head to keep that in a good alignment, keep that there, okay? So we do want to be in that good alignment. Obviously we'll get rid of the cushion if we had that there, and we'll have the knees bent with the feet flat on the floor and the hands just down by the side of the body. We're in neutral, which means we've got the back of the pelvis heavy onto the mat, even left and right sides. I've got an air gap where the low back is, and then the back of the rib cage is on the mat. I've got that air gap where the neck is, and then the back of the skull is either on my head cushion, towel, or on the mat, as long as I'm in this nice straight position. Shoulders are completely relaxed. Now, from here, I'm going to take an inhale to prepare. And as I exhale, I'm just going to gently soften the low back down onto the mat. So I'm going to try and melt almost the low back and see if I can connect it with the mat. And then I'm just going to return back to the starting position. So it's a tiny movement. And if I take my arm away, so maybe you can see, I'm going to over exaggerate it a little bit. I have my low back air gap here. I'm rocking on the pelvis, so the pubic bone is coming towards me. I can feel that sort of movement through the back of the pelvis. So I can feel the contact with the pelvis changing, and my low back is gently connecting with the mat. And then I'm going to roll back again. And it can often help to exhale into that flattening and inhale to return to the neutral. And you can keep doing that for maybe 30, 45, 60 seconds. Gentle movement and paying attention to the movement. So how does it feel? Nice and slowly, nice and gently. And then just come back to rest in that neutral position. So a gentle progression of the pelvic tuck, if that's fine, would be to change how we're doing it. We're going to do the same movement, but in all fours. So here we've got hands underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. And obviously it's a little bit different because I've got different limb lengths, so it's not like being totally flat on the floor, but I am, to all intents and purposes, staying neutral through the spine. Now my neck, a bit like we were supported on the floor by the ground or cushion, I'm going to keep the neck nice and long, a sense of the nose lifting away from the mat, okay, so I'm not going to be dropping down here, okay. I'm also not looking forwards. So nice long neck, I'm looking down about a hand's distance in front of my fingers. From here, I am going to do that same pelvic tuck as we just did. So a sense of the tailbone tucking down underneath me so I can lengthen through the low back only. So I'm just getting a little bit of movement through that low back, lengthening, if you like, through that low back. And then I'm going to return to the starting position. So I'm not coming to a full cat, okay? It's a baby cat, so, or kitten. So I'm tucking the tailbone. I'm thinking, at the moment I've got this like 90-degree bend here at the hips. I'm trying to make that larger or uncrease my leggings, you might think about it. So I'm gently pressing my back, low back up. So imagine when we were pressing to the floor, and then back again. Same breathing we can do as well. So exhale to just get that pelvis rotating on the thigh bones, lengthening through the low back. And inhale to return. Now you can see I'm not moving through the upper body. I'm not moving through the shoulder blades. I am pressing down through the floor the whole time and keeping the shoulder blades nicely connected across my back. And just looking to isolate that movement to the pelvis and the low back. And then obviously coming back to neutral. And if it feels good, you can press back and walk up. Supine leg slides. This is all about starting to wake up the leg, the hip joint, but also disassociate the movement between hip or leg function and the low back, because quite often we can overuse the low back to achieve some hip mobility. So we'll be back supported by the floor so that the body, the brain can feel nice and safe and supported, and we're just exploring the movement through the joint. Now, with this, we do need to allow the leg to be fully supported by the floor. So we're not going to be hovering it off the floor. So what that means is that we need to have feet that slide. So if you have a wooden floor, you could maybe use, if you have a nice polished wooden floor, socks would work, okay? Or paper plates. Paper plates work well on hard floors, wood floors, or indeed on carpet. I have these little sliders, but you don't have to have them. Paper plates work just as fine, or socks. But the key thing is you need the foot to be able to slide on the floor and not be jamming, and we're not hovering it off the floor. That would defeat the purpose of the exercise. So for this exercise, we'll be back down in that lying down position. Again, head cushion if you need it. Foot on the paper plate and we're going to do one leg at a time. So we'll keep the other leg bent. I'm going to find that neutral again, back of the pelvis, back of the ribs, back of the head on the mat, air gap where the low back is. I'm going to keep that low back air gap. I am not going to let my pelvis rock like we just did in the pelvic tuck exercise. No movement there because we're looking to disassociate the movement. So from here, I'm just going to relax the upper body and I'm going to slide the foot away to straight if I can, to fully straight. And then I'm going to draw it back. Now, what I'm doing, literally that is all I'm doing. So I'm just moving through this joint, obviously the knee joint as well, and drawing back. I am not pressing down to come here, okay? So I'm not pressing the low back down, or likewise, I'm not arching it up to try and reach all the way straight. If you find that you get to about here and to go any further you have to start moving through the torso, that's your range for today, and we'll see if we can explore it and go further in future days. So it's just simply relaxing through the rest of the body. If you can't feel whether you're moving, you can use your hands for feedback. So for example, pop in the hands, the palms onto the hip bones. If you start to move, you will probably feel that rocking. So that can be quite helpful sometimes. Or indeed, if you popped a hand behind the back, you'll feel if you're going to squash it or come further away. So try those. Obviously you do both feet. And a progression to the heel slide would be to come back into our all fours position. Here we are actually starting to work a little bit on the back line of the body. We still want that no movement through the pelvic spine like we did with the foot slide. Okay, that's going to be exactly the same, but we're going to start exploring sliding the foot away. So you could actually use your slide. You could actually still use your slider. You don't need it. You can actually just have it in contact with the floor. But if it's getting stuck, maybe it's a good idea to have your slider again, or your paper plate. So from here, I'm going to stay pressing the hands through the floor. Remember, like before, we had the neck nice and long. I'm looking just down in front of me. So that's going to stay nice and strong. I'm not going to let the head fall down or look forwards. And I've got both knees pressing into the floor at the moment. I'm going to ever so slightly shift the weight. You won't be able to see me moving over to the side, but I'm going to press my right knee slightly more down into the mat to release the left knee, and I'm going to slide away and draw it back in. My slider's got stuck, and slide it away and draw it back in. Slide away and in. So there is no movement through the low back. If you are able to, you can always pop your hand onto your back to see if you're moving and arching or rotating. No movement. If you had a tray on your back, a tray of drinks, you wouldn't spill a drop. A progression from this would be to load it a little bit more, where we could come into the starting of a bird dog. This is the one people are often afraid of, bending forwards. But this isn't bending from the lower back, it's actually bending from the hip joints. And that's a completely different thing. And learning the difference is one of the most important things you can do for your back to give you reassurance with movement. Every single repetition that you do without pain will be sending a message to the brain. And it will be saying, this is safe, this is a fine movement. Standing hip hinge. So with this, we start feet hip width distance apart, parallel, and standing nice and tall. Feel the tripod of the feet, big toes, little toes, heels into the ground. We're going to keep that even weight across the front and the back of the foot, and left and even left and right on each foot. Standing nice and tall, I'm going to stay neutral through the spine, and I'm going to slide the bum backwards. I am staying in neutral. I'm not bending through the low back here. I'm sliding backwards, sliding backwards. Obviously, the chest is coming forward to kind of counterbalance the pelvis going backwards. And then I'm going to press through the floor to come back up to standing. Now, my knees are staying above my ankles. I'm not coming into a squat where the knees come forwards. I'm actually really just looking to send the bum back because I'm actually getting into the hamstrings here, the back of the thighs. So often they can be quite tight and that can pull on the low back. So we're looking to work them a little bit so that they can then lengthen and kind of give a little bit. So hinging back, staying in neutral, neck is in neutral, I'm not craning it forwards. I'm thinking bum back, are my knees still above my heels? And forwards. And I'm only bringing my chest forwards, my torso forwards as far as I can come backwards through the pelvis. So I'm not collapsing here, okay? I'm not trying to get the chest down onto the knees. One more thing I want to look at here is where the weight is through the feet. So I'm hinging back, hinging back, hinging back. And when you get to what you think your maximum range is, pause there for a second. Where is the weight in the feet? If it's into the heels a little bit, then I just want you to gently rock forwards. So I can barely see you move, but the weight is now distributed more towards between the toes and the heels. And maybe from here, you can get a little bit further back with the bum. And then press through the feet to come back up to standing. Last one, and before you do this, just have a little bit of a break, have a little bit of a walk round, shake the arms, give the legs a little bit of a shake if that feels good. Just have a moment to recover because we are going to be working back into the hips again with this as well as the shoulders. This exercise is for the upper and mid back. They're muscles that are often switched off in people, certainly with chronic back pain, but actually a lot of us as well. And what that means is that the lower back will basically be doing a lot more work than it needs to do. So it will grumble. We will do this in a squat position. We'll hold the squat position, so we will be working into around the hips and the glutes and the quads, so the front of the thighs as well. So lower leg essentially, or legs essentially. You can do this variation if it's too hard to hold into the squat. You can do this in a standing position, but I prefer this in a hinge. So if you can, even a slight hinge, even a slight squat would be good. So we find our squat with feet hip width distance apart, parallel, hinging at the hips, knees and ankles. So this time we are in a squat, the knees do come forwards, okay? We're not knees above ankles with this one, we are here. We stay nice and neutral through the pelvis and the spine. So neck is gonna be nice and long. I'm not gonna let it drop. I'm not gonna look all the way forwards. I'm thinking lovely, neutral, essentially straight spine. I'm gonna keep that the whole time. Arms lengthen down in front of me. I'm going to sweep them forwards and up into a Y. And then I'm going to lower them. T is floating out to the sides. My shoulder blades are coming together here and down. W is a bit like holding a tray or a big book. My thumbs are pointing outwards and I'm going to open the elbows up towards the ceiling. Again, can you feel your shoulder blades coming together? And I'm going to bring them back, release the hands down, turn the palms back. L is a bit like a scarecrow. I'm going to float the elbows up as high as they'll go. So again, the shoulder blades are kind of moving on my back, drawn together. Keeping the elbows where they are here, I'm just going to rotate the forearms basically as far as I can go. So upwards. And then I'm going to lower and lower. And then up to standing. So that's the movement. You can go a bit faster than that, obviously. Ideally, if you can do 3 to 5 repetitions of the YTWL in the squat, but if you need a break in between, obviously have a break. I'll run you through it a little bit quicker one more time and I'll do it from the side. So hinging down into your squat and we reach forwards for the Y and down and T and down. W, holding a book, open the elbows out, down, down, rotate the arms so the palms face back. L, elbows up, rotate, down and down. And just to show you from the back what the shoulders are kind of doing. So from here, I'm going into that Y and T, W and L. So that's the 5 movements and just a few things before you go. This isn't a quick fix. You're not going to do these a few times and wake up tomorrow morning pain-free, if only. What you're doing here is building confidence. So you're teaching your nervous system movement by moving. You're teaching it that it is safe to move your body. That takes repetition. It takes time. And also, it probably won't be a straight line. Some days will feel great. You'll be like, yeah, I'm improving. Other days, you'll feel a bit stiff or a bit worried. You'll feel a twinge and it'll feel like you're going backwards. That's normal. It doesn't mean you failed or that it's not fixable. It's normal. That is just how the body works. What really matters is that you keep going. Gently, taking your time and giving your body, or rather your brain, that evidence that it's safe to move and that it's okay. Now, quickly, a little bit about me, so you know where I'm coming from. I'm Carolyn. I'm a Pilates teacher, movement coach, and personal trainer. And I specialise in helping people navigate the physical challenges that come along with getting older, like managing pain, old injuries, arthritis, bodies that feel like they're starting to hold them back. If you'd like more support than a YouTube video can give you, something a bit more bespoke that's actually built around you, I do offer one-to-one coaching. You can head to the website. I'll put it up here. And there's a link there to book a call with me. There's no pressure on that. It's a discovery call, essentially. It's just a chance to find out a little bit about where you're at. You will probably get some more tips from me, but also to see whether I can help you and whether we're a good fit. So wherever you're starting from, well done for being here and for actually taking action to do something about it. You can do this.